When a sitting mayor decides to liquidate her debate schedule just weeks before a high-stakes primary, you aren't merely looking at a conflict of calendars. You are witnessing a systemic internal control failure, where the management is desperately trying to redact its own record before the voter shareholders can issue a final, binding audit.
Non-citizens, should they be allowed to vote in local elections? Is this a yes or no, Mr. Pratt?
No.
Mayor Bass?
It depends. It's not a yes or no.
Depends on what?
Well, first of all, when you say non-citizens, it doesn't mean they're here illegal. It doesn't mean they're undocumented. They could have green cards. They could be here perfectly legal. And there's a lot of states and cities that do that on very, very local elections.
Councilmember Bremen.
Yeah, I would say, again, it does depend. In other places, school boards have
It was a yes or no question.
We are documenting the moment where the audit of leadership in Los Angeles has officially hit a technical default, as incumbent Mayor Karen Bass performs a strategic withdrawal from the televised mayoral forum scheduled for May 13th. For a city currently struggling with $1 billion budget deficit and a public safety ledger that is bleeding out on the streets, the refusal to face the forensic scrutiny of a live debate is the ultimate material disclosure of a campaign running on empty political equity.
Incredible liar.
I have to interrupt you. No name calling.
The reality is no matter how many beds you give these people, they are on super meth. They are on fentanyl. The Councilwoman Robbins' plan for treatment first, I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth.
This is a MAGA Republicans' idea of what Los Angeles looks like. This is really not.
Both of these people have been the reason why there's no more Hollywood. You know, I talked to producers. They have to pay gang members right now to keep the streets safe, to go film anything.
I am Camilo Motado, and this is Camilo's House. As a certified public accountant focused on forensic verification, I approach municipal elections like a distressed asset review, where the management discussion and analysis the campaign promises almost never reconciles with the physical evidence on the ground. In a standard financial audit, if a managing partner, the mayor, attempts to redact her participation from the final closing meeting, the debate, you immediately flag the organization for systemic governance risk. Today, we are performing a Los Angeles Mayoral Solvency audit. We are analyzing the material variance between Karen Bass's promises and the operational reality of 2026. The wildcard asset that is Spencer Pratt, and the progressive hedge represented by Nithya Raman. This is the final reconciliation of a city that is currently auditing the rich while liquidating its own safety. The operational trigger for this current market volatility is the debate performance of Spencer Pratt, a former reality TV star whose net worth in this election has surged after he lost his home in the 2025 Palisades fire. From an investigative standpoint, Pratt is performing a hostile audit of the establishment. In recent clips that have liquidated the narrative on social media, Pratt confronted Bass and Raman on the nexus of safety and citizenship. When asked if non-citizens should be allowed to vote in local elections, Pratt gave a verified no, while Mayor Bass provided a management response of "it depends." In the world of forensic verification, a variable response on the eligibility of the stakeholder is a red flag for systemic fraud. If you cannot certify the definition of a voter, your election ledger is insolvent by default. We must also audit the disaster response logbooks regarding the Pacific Palisades fire. This is the primary liability currently impairing the Bass administration. Spencer Pratt, who is running for mayor specifically because the system let his home burn down, has disclosed a material discrepancy in the weather reporting. Bass claimed in her after-action report that winds reached close to 100 miles per hour, justifying why firefighting planes couldn't liquidate the fire. However, Pratt has reconciled the data from 40 different weather stations in the Palisades and certified that the winds never went above 40 miles per hour. In auditing terms, this is a fraudulent reporting incident. If the chief executive is watering down the data to cover for bureaucratic delays and photo ops, the fiduciary trust of the citizens has been liquidated. The Washington Post has even flagged this as a burned by bureaucracy scenario, suggesting a massive cover-up to conceal the truth about the blaze. This brings us to the homelessness asset management debate. The Councilwoman Raman plan for treatment first is being audited by Pratt's real-world experience on the streets. During the debate, Pratt disclosed that the condition of the asset, the homeless population, is currently highly volatile due to supermeth and fentanyl. From a forensic accounting perspective, providing beds, the inventory, to individuals who are addicted to fentanyl without physical security is a sunk cost that provides zero ROI. Pratt warned that any city official going to offer treatment without operational discipline is going to get stabbed in the neck. This is a hard fact of the Los Angeles market, where safety is currently a non-performing asset. The operational costs of this safety deficit are being amortized through a security surcharge on the film industry. Pratt disclosed that Hollywood producers are currently paying gang members to keep the streets safe so they can film on the streets of LA. In forensic terms, this is a racketeering liability. When management, the mayor, fails to enforce the law, the private sector is forced to negotiate with criminal entities to protect their productions. This is a total infrastructure default for a city that relies on Hollywood as its primary revenue driver. If the sound stages have to pay a tax to the gangs because the police presence has been redacted, the business solvency of Los Angeles is in arrears. Mayor Karen Bass's withdrawal of participation from the May 13 forum is a tactical hedge to minimize public volatility. With a UCLA Luskin poll showing 40% of likely voters are undecided, any audible error on a televised stage could liquidate her 25% lead. She is currently facing the most challenging re-election of an incumbent in decades. Her management strategy is to dodge the audit and avoid the question, hoping to maintain her position through name recognition and party endorsements. But as an auditor, I track the risk of silence. When the Mayor S is out of the country during a massive wildfire and then withdraws from a forum during a budget crisis, she is certifying her own unpreparedness. The forensic verdict on the 2026 Los Angeles Mayoral Race reveals a consolidated statement of failure. You have a mayor whose leadership was annihilated by a wildfire, a city council member, Rahman, whose progressive hedging has failed the referendum of common sense, and a reality star, Pratt, who is disinfecting the system. With light, the liquidation of Hollywood jobs to Nashville, and the $1 billion budget gap are the closing entries of an administration that has squandered its capital. Los Angeles is currently a distressed entity in a state of permanent receivership under a management team that punts decisive action by forming advisory committees. Spencer Pratt's mission to expose the system is the subpoena for transparency that Los Angeles needs, whether he wins the title or not. He has audited the narrative of the "it depends" voting policy and the 100 miles per hour's wind excuses. He is running to the right of the center of clout, focusing on public safety and regulatory relief for the victims of bureaucracy. Until the voter shareholders perform a full reconciliation of the Palisades fire and the fentanyl crisis, the City of Angels will remain deep in the red of management malpractice. The June 2 primary will be the first closing on the Bass portfolio. If the 40% undecideds divest from the incumbent and invest in the Pratt mission, we will see a November runoff that will be the final audit of the future of LA. The League of Women Voters called Bass's withdrawal disappointing, but in the regrimentic, the world of forensic verification, it is a material disclosure that the foundation is not laid, it is crumbled. I want to hear from you. Is Karen Bass's withdrawal a sound risk management move or a material disclosure of a fear of the truth? Should non-citizens have the equity of the ballot in local elections, or is that a total control default? Let me know in the comments. Your perspective is the only audit that matters, when the safety of your home and the integrity of your city are sitting on the negotiation table. I am Camilo Motado, and this is Camilo's House. Subscribe to stay informed on the numbers, the laws, and the truth behind the headlines. Stay safe.